check one, two, check one, two. Check one, two, check one, two, three. Check one, two, three. Check one, two, three. Check one, two, three. Check one, two, three.
Touch the orange? I'm gonna beat you this time. Dad's gonna win. I'm gonna beat you. Just stairs right there. Right there. Look. Those stairs right there. Go! Let me see you touch him. Go faster!
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Hamilton Heights for our inductee ceremony for our Hamilton Heights Hall of Fame. It's good to see everyone, families. It's great that you all have the opportunity to come out. This is something that was put together by Mr. Mitch Street a few years back, and just keeps getting better and better every year. And so congratulations to the inductees. We will have an opportunity to meet them, see some videos, listen to some hopefully good stories about them. I've kind of heard some stories already, so just be prepared. As we begin, though, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our exclusive sponsor. Berry.com came on board this year and made a very generous donation to our Hall of Fame. Mitch and Kurt, I believe, worked with them on that. You see them out running around in the country, burying cable everywhere. And like I said, they are the exclusive sponsor, and we are so, so grateful to them for that. Also, thumbs up on the great meal. Now, I put your hands together. That's Mr. Rodney Cummins. For all of you that come to a lot of the Husky football games, Rodney does the tailgating a lot of the time, so we all kind of know how good his food is. Once again, an outstanding job by Rodney and his family. We do appreciate that. Rodney Freeman's on the video. A big thank you to him. We are broadcasting this. It's a great opportunity, and he does a fantastic job. So make sure you catch up if you need some information afterwards from him on that. But a big thank you to Rodney. Big thank you to Lori Hippensteel. It takes a lot to get stuff ready to do something. I don't care what it is. And Lori does a great job pitching in, helping out, organizing. She has a student government, which helps her with that, the kids here at the school. So a big thank you. I don't know, I think some of the kids are here maybe. I don't even see Lori now. Did she leave? Oh, there she is. I see her now. She's over there. A big thank you to them, though. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. I'm going to take this opportunity. I want to introduce our Hall of Fame board. When this was started, Mitch kind of threw it out there. I know Chad really got involved to help him and put together a board to vote and come up with the inductees every year. And this is a great group of people. They've done a great job. And I just want to recognize them at this time. Mr. Mitch Street's over here. He's our chairman. Mr. Chad Ballinger is the secretary. Chad's sitting back here in the back, just raised his hand. Kurt Ogden, our athletic director, is our treasurer. Big thank you to him. Dr. Derek Arrowwood, he's our superintendent, also a member of our board. Jared Mason, the principal here at Hamilton Heights, a board member with us. Arnie Cooper, board member, also school board member, so you got complaints, go see Arnie. Mr. Mike Thomas, a board member. I think Mike's back here in the back. Mrs. Ruth McKinney was an AD here for a while, always been involved with Healthy Athletics, board member. Mr. Bill Trackman just came in via hot air balloon, running a little late, but he's here. He had a cross-country meet this morning, so we'll give him a break on that one. And also, I'm a member of the board as well. At this time, I'm going to have Mitch come up. He's got a few things he kind of wants to explain about our plaques and our actual board.
Again, thank you for coming out. I just wanted to take just a couple minutes. First off, with the live stream, I will send that link out to all the inductees so that if there's people who aren't here, it'll be archived and you'll be able to go back and view that. The videos and everything will be on there, so I will get that out to you along with the videos after this sometime next week. I'll get those out to you. But I did want to explain just quickly the award that you'll be getting today. So today you guys will receive just this basic little plaque. Nothing too special there, but here on the north side, we have our Hall of Fame display, which I think is a first-class display. If you've not seen that, it's top-notch. But with that, there's a plaque that's very identical to this on your display board. And so next year, when the next class comes in, the 5th class, you are the 4th class. When the 5th Hall of Fame class comes in, you already have this, but then you'll have an opportunity to get your award, and you can do whatever you'd like to with that. And so I'll be in touch after, next year around this time. It coincides with our homecoming every year. You'll have the full display, but the plate that's up there will then go on the permanent wall to be displayed with all the other inductees. So I just kind of wanted to explain that. This isn't too special, but I think the display is pretty cool in and of itself. But huge thanks to everybody that Greg said. I'm going to stop talking and get started with the program here. Huge thanks, too, to those people who are going to introduce and share those stories, and the people who played a part in putting the videos together. Huge thanks to them as well. So, again, congratulations, and thank you very much on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Mitch. As I said, we do want to make sure another big thank you to Berry.com for their sponsorship. It's just great to see everybody. What an honor. I've said every year when I get up here, these inductees are so deserving. There are so many, and they've meant so much to Hamilton Heights, and this is our way of recognizing this, and thank you. And also for some of us that are getting older, it's a great chance to see some of you that we haven't seen for a few years. Man, you got families. I mean, it's like you're still participating. Some of you, I know you're older. Don, you don't, you and Dan, but it's all right. But it's just great that everybody can come back and be part of this. The way that we will do this, there'll be a video to watch, and then I will introduce the presenter. They will come up and give their little speech and talk about the inductee and introduce the inductee to you. Then the inductee will have an opportunity, if they like, to speak to you also. And then we'll just repeat that, and we will go down through the list. So once again, on behalf of the board and Hamilton Heights and our community, congratulations to our 5 inductees this year. I'm just going to throw those 5 names out real quick, and we're going to get started. Mr. Dan Shields, Mr. Don Morgan, Mr. Jason Reecer, Mr. Blaine Zimmerman, and Cheyanne Jackson Brewer. Congratulations to you and your families on your induction into the Hamilton Heights Hall of Fame.
Dan was a 1964 graduate of Jackson Central High School, which was the next last class that graduated from Jackson Central High School before the consolidation with Walnut Grove to make Hamilton Heights school system.
He was good in everything, and I learned things from him that helped me out.
He played football, basketball, and baseball. In football, he was all-county and all-conference 3 years. He was captain and MVP as a senior, and they had a 25-7 record during his 4 years of high school. In basketball, he was all-county and all-conference 2 years, and the team was also county champion 2 years while he was in high school.
Wow, yeah, that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah.
I love to come in when Dan pitched, because Dan was a very serious player. He took it very serious, and he would study his opponents to find their weaknesses. And I learned quite a bit from Dan. I don't know if I'd ever want to bat against him, because if you get too close to the plate, you'd probably get one inside. So, but no, Dan was, he had to have been good to go on to play in college.
He was our leading scorer. He was on the all-sectional team as a senior. He was the leading free throw shooter of the team, and he was also their assist leader. So definitely he was an all-around basketball player, football player. And then in baseball, he was a 2-year letter winner, and he was MVP of the baseball team his senior year. And then he went on to Ball State, and he pitched over there. He coached football at Taylor High School up Kokomo for 6 years. And he also coached football here at Hamilton Heights for 2 years. And then after he quit teaching and coaching, he came back to the community and opened an insurance agency, which is still going to this day. He's a hometown boy who came back home and has spent the bigger part of his life right here in this community.
Yep. He's been very loyal to Hamilton Heights School. You can see him at most of the athletic events. Well, Dan, this has been an honor. It's been several years now, probably close to 60 years, but you have earned this award.
I can tell you, I wouldn't have nominated you if I hadn't felt that you were definitely deserving of this honor. And I'm glad you got voted in. And to you and Betty, the best of luck.
At this time, I'll introduce to you Mr. Danny Hampton. And he is wearing the red pants for a reason.
Thank you very much. It's a joy to be here. There aren't many people in the world I'd get in a car and drive 15 hours for. I live down in South Georgia, way down in the southeast corner, and Danny called and asked me if I'd introduce him, and I said, well, I'm pretty busy. I've probably got a tea time or something, but I wouldn't have missed it for anything. I have on red, white, and blue for a reason, and the reason I have it on is this right here. I'm a hybrid. I went to Jackson Central for 2 years. I went to Hamilton Heights for 2 years. I was here right in the middle of the merger. And it was an interesting experience. But I will tell you one thing that my classmates and I have always talked about. It was the smoothest thing I've ever seen. That transition was great. I'd like to also have on this red, white, and blue to honor two of my people. Everybody went to South Alabama. Hold your hand up. There you go. There they are. There we go. There aren't many South Alabama people here, but I know Donnie and Rick were there, and I could tell you a couple stories about them, but that's not what this is all about. I want to congratulate all the inductees. I think it's a really, really special honor. I grew up in Arcadia, kind of the Mayberry of Central Indiana, and we didn't have cell phones, and we didn't have video games, and what we had, as Danny can attest to, we had a ball. It might be a basketball, might be a baseball, might be a football, but we had a ball, and that's what we did, except for a lot of our kids that lived out on the farm, and then they had to work their butts off to get to come play ball. But we had a ball, and that's what we did, but we lived for Friday night. And all of you that are a little older, or closer to my age, and even, I won't even mention Danny, but even Donnie, we lived for Friday nights. We didn't play ball games on Monday and Tuesdays back then. There was no such thing. We played on Friday nights. And we lived for Friday nights, and I could not wait when I was in middle school for Friday night, because I got to go see these people play, and I lived and died for this. Danny was a three-sport person, and I mean that in all sincerity. He was a terrific football player, one of the best tacklers I've ever seen. If Danny hit you, you knew you'd been hit. He sometimes would hit you when you might not be in bounds, but, that's just part of the game. He was very, very aggressive. He was a terrific basketball player. I played golf with him yesterday and told him I pretty much felt like that if he had a ball, he'd be open right then. He never met a shot he didn't like, but he was a competitor. But Danny and I, both of our first loves, and I played those sports too, but our first love has always been baseball. And Danny pitched, I watched him pitch. In fact, when he was young, my brother actually caught him when he was younger. Rick was a couple years older than Danny. And but to watch him, to learn what he did, he taught me, if nothing else, how to compete. And when Mike's made the statement, he was very, very sincere, so to speak, when he was on the mound. He would throw inside occasionally, usually to at least one batter an inning, mostly I think just to get people's attention. But he was very, very, his ability to stay focused is the one thing I learned more than anything else from him. Danny came home, and he opened a very successful business and remained a vital part of this community. And I'm going to leave you with this. A role model, the definition, is a person who is worthy of imitation, who demonstrates confidence and leadership, a person who is unique and treats everyone with respect, a person you hope to copy. Ladies and gentlemen, my role model in my life, Mr. Danny Shields.
Tried to take everything. He stole all my good thoughts. Thank you. Boy, we all like for people to say nice things about us, even if they have to stretch it just a little bit. Maybe like that. Anyway, I wanted to congratulate the other inductees. I know they're all deserving. Some of you I saw play or wrestle. I didn't get to see the swimming, but I know they're all deserving. I also want to thank the selection committee. This was quite an honor. And I have to say that when Arnett Cooper told me that he was going to nominate me, I said, "You got to be kidding me." I mean, it's been 60 years since I played. And I don't know who would remember that, except some guy from down in southern Georgia. And I was afraid of what he might say. And I appreciate that he didn't tell all those stories that I was afraid he was going to talk about. I want to thank my family for being here. Even my great-grandson is here today. And my first wife. And after 56 years, she's still my first wife. I want to thank my coaches, Don Bockert, Bill Britton, and Gary Kiesling. I wish they could have been here. Excuse me. We lost 7 football games in the 4 years I was in high school. I'm very proud of that. It's not quite like the football team we have now. I'm pretty proud of them too, because I've got a grandson that's playing on that team, and I think they're going to go undefeated. Or they better anyway. I'm going to be after them. We won 2 county tournaments in basketball. I had great teammates. Ronnie Ackles, Charlie Core, John Knapp, Tom Browning, just to name a few. Rick Hampton, I might also add, was a teammate. I had great teachers. Vincent Gunther, Bill Nelson, Virgil Reckups, and even back to my first grade, 70 years ago, Mrs. Tottleben. Does anybody remember her? Vicki does, I know. Okay. And Julie, good. Well, she was an effective teacher and really got us all started on the right track. Again, I thank you for being here, and it's truly a great honor. Thank you.
Once again, Mr. Danny Shields. All right. Now see, him and Danny are just alike in a lot of ways. Danny stole the mic, and Danny stole my notebook. I don't know whether he's testing me or what he's doing. All right, we're ready for our next video.
If Don's not the #1 all-around athlete with basketball, football, and baseball, he's in the top 4 or 5, my opinion.
I agree. I think his senior year we went 10-0, ranked 19th in the state. This is before class
Before there's
football.
a tournament even.
Yeah.
Don was the leading scorer in the county in football that year.
Yeah.
And they were 10-0. And again, no tournament to play in. So the season was over after 10-0.
Yeah.
Donnie was really an outstanding kicker. And back when people weren't kicking field goals, he had a strong leg. He was a great field goal kicker and extra points, and probably could have done a lot more with that.
In baseball, that was my first year of coaching baseball at Heights. And Donnie was a senior, and we were very competitive. Donnie was competitive. We finished second to Noblesville in the sectional. He was our pitcher, and he played shortstop too, and he was pretty effective in his pitching.
Well, you know, in the summer, Donnie also played American Legion baseball, which in those days was very big in the Midwest, tournaments all over the state and all over the Midwest, and it was more or less an all-star team of players in the county, and they tried out, and Don was, he was tremendous on that American Legion team back in those days too.
Yeah. I think your senior year together, you averaged over 50 points a game.
Yes, we did.
Both of them, so.
And that was without a three-point line.
Yeah.
We shot a few three-pointers if they would have had a three-point line.
I remember one of my tasks on the bench was to keep the shot chart and errors and that kind of thing. And I'll tell you, we got a lot of shots. Our guys tended to lead the county in rebounding too. So we had a fast break team, just go out and score.
One of our biggest rivalries every year was Noblesville. And those 3 years that Don and I were running together, we won all those games. Noblesville never beat us. So that was a lot of fun back then.
Yeah, Noblesville was a tough team to play against. Of course, they were a lot bigger than we were. We were able to keep our composure and play well for our community.
We did.
Well, I remember an afternoon game. I think we were playing Northwestern, and we won by 2, 105 to 103. And you and Don both were just drilled them whenever we needed them. And Don, of course, held up his end. And that was probably one of the more memorable games that comes to mind for me.
I remember that game. It was 3 or 4 overtimes.
Yeah, you're right. Well, Don, it goes without saying, with your history and your performances, that it's time that you were in the Hall of Fame, and I congratulate you for that.
Again, as I've said, I believe that Don is, if he's not the #1 all-around athlete at Hamilton Heights, he's in the top 4 or 5. And I've known Don since our 8th grade year. And welcome to the Hall, Don. Well deserved.
I'd like to introduce at this time Mr. Mike Jenkins.
Try it this way. Of course, we'd like to welcome the family, all the guests that we have, teammates, coaches, the select committee, and others who came to honor our 5 inductees today. Today's purpose, as stated in the materials that identifies what this activity is all about, of which I am honored to participate, is to recognize Hamilton Heights School alumni who have distinguished themselves by their athletic accomplishments and by maintaining a good standing during their high school and tenure without and throughout their life. And by recognizing and honoring these positive role models, we can provide inspiration to our current students on understanding the value of an education, citizenship, and the possibilities to which they can lead. On July 17th this year, there was a news article that gave basic highlights of our 5 inductees to the Athletic Hall of Fame. My efforts today will be to tell you how Don has distinguished himself and qualifying him for this honor. First, I could start with my background with Don and Debbie, and it's in several categories. I came to Hamilton Heights in 1969, and I taught government, econ, U.S. history, and some other courses, and Donnie was in those courses his junior and senior year. As an athlete and coach, I was head baseball coach in '71, Don's senior year, as well as an assistant football and basketball coach during his junior and senior year. Don and I also were teammates later after his graduation, playing fast pitch and slow pitch softball after he graduated. And believe it or not, Dan was my landlord. I helped put him through college. Also, they acted as babysitters for some of our children when we were living in a house that was on their property. Don was really responsible for my son sleeping with one eye open when he told him that the noise he heard in his room was a wolf. And I think he maybe still believes that. In Don's early years, he's been a lifelong resident of Hamilton County. He attended Noblesville Elementary Schools, Fishers Junior High, and then high school here at Hamilton Heights. One thing we can do is to thank the building of Interstate 69 near their property in Fishers, allowing the Morgan family to move to White River Township in Hamilton Heights. Don really enjoyed baseball, and he enjoyed playing, as mentioned earlier, Babe Ruth and the American Legion, and he teamed with many of the outstanding athletes in our area. While in high school, Don was in a lot of extracurricular activities, and you find that most good athletes do things that are above and beyond what they have to do other than their actual schoolwork. He was a class officer. He was on the yearbook and the newspaper staff, and he was on numerous clubs, including the H Club. Now, after high school, Don was recruited by many colleges, but he chose South Alabama, I think we've heard that before, to play baseball. But a shoulder injury led to his finishing college at Ball State. During college in 1973, Don married his high school sweetheart, and after graduation, Don was hired in 1976 into the Carmel Middle School and Junior High systems. He was there for 36 years. 20-some years of those years were coaching football, basketball, and baseball. Now, add to that to the duties that he had on the farm, raising a family, and enjoying the benefits of being a grandparent,
you can see that he was quite busy. In recent years, Don and Debbie have developed a food service business that focuses on fairs and town celebrations. Don was also inducted into the Hamilton County Hall of Fame in 2011. You've heard a few of his athletic milestones. I have a few that perhaps you aren't aware of, and let me share those with you. He had 3 letters in basketball. He was all conference. He was all sectional, and he was all sectional for 3 years. He took part in a number, really a record number of points scored by 2 members of a team. He and Rick paired and scored a combined 84 points against Eastern, and that was a record at that time. Don had over 1,132 career points. 38 of those points came against Carmel in 1970. They were, if you remember, state runner-ups. And in that year, of course, he was teamed with Rick, who was the premier scorer that year, and they became known as the M&M Twins. And that still is a way of describing them today. He had 3 letters in baseball. He was team captain, sectional runner-up, all-conference. He was recruited by many colleges. He selected South Alabama. And he had 2 letters in football. He started playing in sophomore year, and he was quarterback on the undefeated JV team, but he got the starting job at quarterback against Noblesville the last game of the season. He was co-captain, quarterback, and kicker on our 10-0 team in 1971. That team was rated number 19 in the state prior to the system that they have now. He was the county leading scorer in football with 143 points. And during his career, he accumulated over 220 points, a record that lasted for 30 years. He played under head coaches Jim Palmer and Ted Humer in football. As an athlete, I think I can say that Don performed best against the best that he faced. The top players in the area, when Don was on the floor with them, he competed and he made a difference. And he was recognized in these sports that I've mentioned as all conference, all county, and all sectional in each. I'd like for you to welcome Hamilton Heights Hall of Fame inductee, Donnie Morgan.
I want to thank Coach Jenkins. I think I'd be better with this part. I figure out how to do this. Here we go. Anyway, I'm not actually positive now that after all the things I wrote down that Coach Jenkins didn't cover most everything. So, but and also I want to thank Rick for the video and so forth. First thing, I want to congratulate all the other inductees today and in the 3 years prior. And I have a few groups to thank. I want to thank the selection committee. I am truly honored, and I was really very surprised when Mitch called me. As Mike alluded, I grew up at Fisher's and ended up here in 1967, so this was kind of a surprise. I always, when I was here, thought I was an outsider. And as Dan referred to earlier, Heights was just starting out. I got here in 67, I think the first year was 65 or 66. So anyway, I wasn't a Walnut Grove kid. I wasn't a Jackson Central, as Dan pointed out earlier, Dan Hampton. And so I don't have one of those little JC things. But anyway, I was just a kid. So now, the other thing I want to mention about the selection committee, this is something I think is really awesome, and I told Chad Ballinger that a few years ago when we were just talking one time. In 4 years, they've inducted, I think, 20 people now, or teams. They've covered like over 80 years of time. We were talking about this last year, going back to the Jackson Central, Walnut Grove, and even Arnott said, I think, last week at a class reunion, the 1932 Cicero team. So anyway, like incredible that they're, and it's awesome. I know I go into I've been in a lot of gyms and schools over the years, and I don't know how many people have something like this, but this is really great. Second one I want to mention is my family. I grew up on a farm at Fishers, and unlike like here right now, my practice area was on the side of a barn with a gravel driveway, and then that was for basketball. And the lights that we had was like the moonlight if there was a moon out that night. And then in baseball, which was always my favorite sport, I had a rubber ball that I would throw against the foundation of the barn to practice ground balls. And then fly balls was off the barn roof. Pitching was off the brick house. We had a small brick house at the time. Mom probably never knew I did that, but anyway, I did. And then all kids liked to bat, and I was the same. So I hit rocks out into one of the pasture fields, and that was my practice facilities. Not like Grand Park or not like this beautiful gym in here today, just a little bit different. And as Mike said, I played Little League baseball, I played basketball, and Rick alluded to one thing that he mentioned earlier in the video. We've known each other ever since 8th grade, and my team was really good down there. We beat Carmel, we beat Noblesville. There was just one team that beat us when I was an 8th grader, and it was a team from like the northern part of the county, and he happened to be on that team. So anyway, they beat us at Walnut Grove, and then they beat us down at Carmel High School in the county tourney. So those were our 2 losses. But, and Coach Jenkins mentioned all these other things, and so I'm going to skip some of this stuff and get to some of the things. I played Babe Ruth, I played Legion, and all those things, and Rick alluded to that, so I don't need to mention those. But one of the things I do want to mention is all the coaches. I didn't realize until Coach Jenkins and I got going through all this stuff, I didn't have any coaches that I played for more than 2 years. Maybe that was a bad omen on my part. Yeah, I mean, I was telling somebody, as a sophomore, Bud Wright was a football coach at Sheridan, all right? And that was like, what, a long time ago. Bud Wright's still the football coach at Sheridan, all right? Still today. So anyway, he outlasted a lot longer than a lot of others. But anyway, Coach Bacher was one of my baseball coaches, Coach Nikas, Coach Jenkins. And then I had Coach Jellison and Coach Dunker and Coach Fleming in the American Legion. In basketball, just really quick, Coach Havens, Coach Bacher, Coach Redenbaugh. Now, I actually got thinking about this when I was watching Dan Shields up here. Coach Redenbaugh, every night after practice, Rick will remember this, he always had to shoot. Of course, that was probably kind of the IU tradition. He always would practice his mid-court shots. And so I was thinking about that when we were standing up, or Dan was standing up here. And then Coach Small was the coach the last year. Football, I had Coach Plummer and Coach Huber, and I didn't play till I was sophomore year. There's a really funny story, but I'm not going to bore you guys with that, because when I started playing football, I had no idea what I was doing. And so we're going to stay away from that. But I didn't even know how to put the uniform on, so don't, it's there. But anyway, one of the things I want to mention with the coaches, some were low-key, like Coach Jenkins. Some were very vocal, like Coach Small. And I actually saw Coach Small as a 7th grader when I was at Fishers. And this is a true story. I mean, maybe Dan told some fabrications on some of the things. This is a true story. There was a tournament at Hamilton Heights, and I was there as a 7th grader at Fishers. And I thought, there is absolutely no way. Coach Small's running up and down the court, grabbing people, setting them on the bench, whatever. There's no way in the world I'll play for that guy. And I played for 2 years for Coach Small. That is a true story. That's a true story. And he was awesome. But anyway, lots of the things I learned from all the coaches I used for like 20-some years when I coached at Carmel. But the most important group, by far, was all the teammates I had over the years. I was thinking that I probably, in the 4 years, probably had over 100 different teammates. I'm sure I probably even more than that. Playing basketball, baseball, and football, I wouldn't have done anything without all those guys. And, a special thanks to all of them. And I wanted to mention just a couple examples where the teammate comes in. Rick alluded to a couple of these, and Coach Jenkins did. But just in basketball, we had Jim Mann and we had Jim Simpson. They both led the county in rebounding. So that's how Rick and I got to shoot all the time. And then Jeff Mosbaugh was one of our assist guys, and he would make the passes to us. So all those guys made our job easy. Football, somehow I ended up being the kicker, and there's a story with that one, but that'll go too. But we would practice with those. Rick Nevitt was the center, the long snapper. Dale Myros was the holder. Those guys did the hard thing. All I had to do was kick the ball. So those are the guys that need all the, accommodate or recommendations on that. And so that was just the fun part. I do want to mention 3 guys that are kind of special on that deal. You met one of them in the video, and I'll get to him in just a minute. But Kent Carson, and Dan Hampton told me today I played for sure. I was a freshman, Kent was a senior, and I played on the freshman JV team. And Dan told me that I played baseball, and I can't remember, we could not find any picture of that. So I'm not sure that's true. But Kent Carson, I've told people, I always thought he was the best player, the basketball player that's ever played here as an overall player. And I got to play, every day in practice with him. Secondly, and his name hasn't been mentioned today, and I'm not sure why, but Tony Cook was maybe the best person. I learned so much in the 2 years I played with Tony. I learned to compete. I heard Dan talking about competing and things. I learned how to compete. I learned how to be a leader. And I just learned how to watch somebody that knew what they were doing. Tony's sophomore year, which was before I came here, Smoke Starrett told me at a class reunion a week ago that Tony went 10-0, and the team was undefeated too. And that doesn't surprise me one bit. Tony, I got to play at Noblesville, and I played with a bunch of really good guys, and one of my teammates is sitting right over there, Tommy Knotts, who got to catch me and probably try to keep the balls from going to the backstop. But anyway, between him and Terry Kimmer, those were the 2 best pitchers I ever played with Tony. And then the last one I want to mention really quick, Rick McCoskey. As I mentioned, we played since the 8th grade. He was one of the first kids I got to know when I moved up here. And we played 3 years together. Those of you that are old enough to remember Don Jellison, Don was not very fair to us as things went along, especially in our older years. He was always talking about things that, and I'm just kidding, that, Rick would pass it in and I would score. I would pass it in and Rick would score. That was the way Jellison described it. It really wasn't that way. But one of the things with Rick, we got the opportunity, as Mike alluded, we scored 84 points in a game. I guess probably our teammates probably weren't real happy about that, but we scored 84 points. Rick scored 54 in that game, and that was a school record until a couple years ago when Gus Etchison broke it. So again, thanks to all the guys that played. I have one last thing, and I'll get out of here so you guys can move on. And I told Coach I was going to do this. If anyone, last week Dan Shields told me he didn't have one of these, and he does have one of these now. If anyone here is a big basketball fan and you do not have this booklet, Coach Ballinger has done a wonderful job on this. And I have no idea how much he charges. He should charge a lot. But it's so detailed, and it's really well put together. And I looked at it in 2015 when he made it, and until a couple weeks ago, I'd forgot about it. And then Coach Jenkins and I were looking at it, and it's just great. So thanks to everybody. I appreciate it. See if this will go back in here. There we go. You want that, Greg? I'll get. All right. There we go. And I got it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Don Morgan, our second inductee this afternoon. We are ready for another video at this time.
He was never one to talk about himself.
No.
Like,
most of the stuff I found out was from like his colleagues or other coaches that may have seen him wrestle or wrestled with that. But I could get a sense of who he was as a wrestler from how he took into coaching and from his life as a Marine and also as a peer too. That's why I just don't think he didn't really change when it came to his philosophies and principles when it came to working.
Yeah, it's one of those where, I mean, you knew what he was about without him having to tell you. Never once heard him say, "Oh, I was the first." It was always like, "Hey, you know that he was like the first guy from your school to go to state rank." We're like, "No, we never knew." And then it'd just be like, he's like, "Yeah, I did." Like to him, it was like, it's a major accomplishment. But I feel like for him, I don't want to speak for him, but I feel like for him, it was just part of the process. Like that's everyone's goal, and he just happened to make it there. But the bigger picture wasn't to become a state qualifier. It was like, I'm preparing myself for what I'm doing after I get out of school. And wrestling just happened to be one of those sports he did to get ready for it.
I felt like I got to understand him more as a colleague, because as a coach, we need to do this. Here's our thing. I'm the coach, you're the wrestler. I'm trying to tell you how to do things in the right way. As peers, yeah, he can do that too, but sometimes I just ask him, well, why are we doing this? Well, because this and this and this. I mean, there's still stuff I bring nowadays that, pieces of advice that he would give me that I still use.
He was always like the intense coach, where it's like, okay, he's here, practice is gonna be like terrible, it's gonna be hard, conditioning is gonna be insane. And then like, as I became a coach with him, like he was probably like one of the funniest dudes in the room. It really caught me off guard when I went from wrestler to coach.
His focus was, I'm here for you guys. You don't really need to talk about me unless it's pertinent to what we're going to be doing right now. I'm going to show you these moves. I'm going to show you why you need to shake the person's hand at the very end. I'm going to show you why you need to do all this stuff because it's going to help you.
We're the blue collar team that wants to outwork everybody, and he brought that from his time for the Marine Corps to when he was a former wrestler, where it's like, you don't have to be the greatest technical wrestler, but we will outwork you. To this day, we still on awards night have a award that's strictly named after Jason Reecer and what he accomplished and what he meant to the program. And that whole award's based on who worked the hardest, who put the most time in, who made the most sacrifices for the team.
Got to talk to you through a bunch of times when I was going through things, and I got to talk to you about stuff that you were dealing with, and I never felt like anything that I had to contribute was less than. That's why I say that even the agreements and the disagreements, that meant so much to me, because you can disagree with somebody and still get better for it. And that's all I ever wanted. I ever felt like he was a genuine person that I never felt like kowtowed or said anything I didn't want to say or didn't mean to say. Everything that came out of your mouth, I meant, and I believed in it, and that's what matters, because that's what I get to bring to anybody else, whether it be me as a coach, me as a teacher, me as a father, just me as a person. They couldn't give you enough awards for this. So again, congratulations and thank you.
As a former wrestler and a coach, I would just like to say thank you for everything you've ever taught me, technique-wise, life-wise, and still to this day, being able to show up at sectionals and see you there. You come up and give me a big hug as if like we see each other every single day still. You walk in the gym, you pretty much know he's there by everyone just like, who's this 5'8" jacked up firefighter walking around, grabbing everybody from behind, trying to wrestle them on the side of the basketball court during a wrestling tournament.
Yep.
And it's just, it never fails. Like when you're there, it's hard not to be in a good mood when you show up. Like, because it's gonna be a good conversation. You're probably gonna learn something whether you wanna learn something or not from you. So that's always appreciative, and I just wanna say congratulations on making it to the Hall of Fame.
Introduce to you at this time, Mr. Gary Myers.
Hey, if everybody would stand up for a second. I know you've been sitting a long time. You want that 7th inning stretch? Go ahead. I don't know how this thing. Yeah, you're good. As a presenter for the Hall of Fame, you hope you say the right words to honor somebody for all the years that they've dedicated. 4 years is a short time to be at a high school. Once you figured out you're in your 50s and 60s and go, 4 years was not enough. And when you were in high school, you thought, I'll never get out of here. I'm going to be stuck here forever. And I know I thought it. And now that I'm out, I've been trying 40 years to get back in. So I want to take a moment, just about 10, 15 seconds, and I want to give a pause to all the Walnut Grove, Jackson Central students that came here to form a school. And, you know, it's not easy combining schools. We did it at Muncie Southside, Muncie Central, but we fought a lot in the beginning. And so I don't know what it was like back then for this school coming together, but it is not easy. But we left a lot of people behind that we wish were here. Jason Reecer, mother passed about 12 years ago, Patsy Reecer. His father's here, Richard Reecer. And I just want to take about 15 seconds, a moment of silence, to think about those that we've left behind that we wish were here today to honor our athletes. 5 decades of athletes are being enshrined today. That's a long time, and I was alive for every one. So let's take about 10, 15 seconds, and let's think about those past athletes. Thank you. Okay. It's important to remember those that didn't come with us. My parents are still here. My dad's 91, my mom's 88. It's important that they have seen some of the things that we've done. It's very important. It's why we do the things we do, to honor our parents, our family, our children, our grandchildren. I want to recognize, now I want to show you before I do anything, I'm not the guy who writes stuff down. I became the AAU Hall of Fame director and president about a year ago. Did my first Hall of Fame in June. I write nothing down. I do it the day I walk into the place. So you can see this is all over the place, but it comes together nicely, trust me. Because when I write something down, I get distracted. So I want to thank Dr. Arrowwood, his vision. When you look around at Hamilton Heights, and if you've not been noticing in his time of leadership here, this school is not the same. Our programs are not the same. You have to have vision for that, and you have to have good people surrounding you. Dr. Arrowwood has Mitch Street, who has a lot of trust in everyone. Mrs. Hippensteel, Mr. Freeman, Mr. Trackman, Mr. Mason, Kurt Ogden, Rodney Cummings for the food, thanks for that. Greg Knapp, Mr. Ballinger. Those are some people that help support Dr. Arrowwood's vision, and you have to have a vision to come into a community and turn it around. I mean, look, I've been around, and I don't think I've ever seen a school turn around so quickly. All our programs, our academics are top notch. I mean, I got 2 wrestlers who are academic All-Americans this year. That doesn't happen for all 29 sports. Isaac Kuhn and Carson Fettig. It doesn't happen. It's happened 3 times at Heights. So I want to thank Mr. Reecer's family for being here. His wife, Hannah, his wife, Angie, his daughter, Hannah, his daughter, Kelsey, her husband, Dylan, his 2 grandchildren, which they are able to see that their grandfather going to the Hall of Fame, Will and Charlie. I want you to follow some of the message that Mr. Reecer will leave here with you young children today. And it's honor, integrity, character, leadership, perseverance, and strength. So Will and Charlie, I want you to remember those words, because those are the words that are going to take you into the future. When we put people into the Hall of Fame, we think of character, and we think of the things that they do. From the time we're born till we end, there's a story. What is that story? Well, that story is all about character, and Mr. Reecer displays that every day of his life. He's an 11-year veteran of the Marine Corps. Thank you for your service. 28-year firefighter. Thank you for saving lives, and thank you for defending our lives. So he has an award here that we've kept since he's left here, and it's the Esprit de Corps Award. It's a Marine Corps award, and it's for being a hard charger, for being that guy that if Mr. Reecer says, I need you to go through that wall, that kid doesn't ask why, he just does it. But that's what leadership's about. If you got a kid that can believe in you that much. I almost was not at Hamilton Heights. I never wanted to be a high school wrestling coach. 12 years ago, by chance, I had to be wrestling some kids from Heights, and they said, it would be nice if we had a coach. I think their coach was leaving or something. And I said to them before that, man, if you guys had a coach, you guys would be great. And I get a call, and they said, hey, coach, would you consider coaching? I've been fighting on pay-per-view for about 16 years, and I was 47 for my last pay-per-view fight, so I was ready to retire. I was tired. And coaching wasn't on my mind. So I interviewed here at Heights. It's not a bad story, but I wasn't accepted. You know, it's like, we're going to go a different direction. I'm like, that's cool. I didn't want to coach anyway, so. You know what I mean? So, but Mr. Reecer, in his vision, called me and said, I need you to meet me at Rosemary's in Noblesville. He goes, this can't be this way. He's like, no. I agreed to have lunch with him, and he says, look, he goes, you didn't get hired? I go, no. He goes, we're going to fix that. So it's hard to say no to Mr. Reecer and anything he does. So he got it fixed. Now, I'm no coach. I know I've tried out for 4 Olympic teams. I know what it's like to train myself. I know what it's like to get myself ready. I know what it's like to train with a team, but I don't know how to coach. That was my concern. I had a lot of people say, Gary, this is going to be a hard road for you to coach. But I had a strong leader in my room, and that was Mr. Reecer. So I leaned on him a lot. And a story I had for Mr. Reecer was Stam Stabler. We were at a big Super 6, and I'm trying to tell Stabler something. Reecer knows him. This is my first year, and I don't know him that well. I just look over at Reecer, and I said, would you please tell him to stick the arm in and turn this kid? Mr. Reecer stands up, and he yells at Stabler. Stabler immediately puts him on his back and pins him. And those are the things, you have to be you have to have a command voice, and that's what Mr. Reecer had. He had direction, leadership, strength, and you did what he said. Because I was yelling at Stan for 4 minutes, he wouldn't do what I said. But I became a good leader by watching him and training off him, and that's how I became a coach, and we're very successful today. We just won the last 2 sectionals. We've been like 85-4 in the last 4 years in duels. So I finally figured out how to coach, but it took me a leader like Mr. Reecer to get me here today. At first, I didn't know how to coach, so it was all to him that got me in the right direction, and year-round wrestling. So I just am honored to be here today to enter me into the Hall of Fame, because a lot of people don't get this. They don't get this moment in life. There has to be a first. Mr. Reecer was the first wrestler to go to the state championships for Hamilton Heights. If you don't have a first, you don't have anybody that follows. Everybody's still trying to figure out how to do it. But when you see a guy that done it, then you know how to do it. I mean, you go, it can be done. This little school could produce state qualifiers and state champions. And that's what we're going to have this year. You're going to see 4 or 5 kids from Hamilton Heights at the state. We've got 700 kids here. But you're going to see a tremendous improvement from this team. But like I said, this all comes from the career and the dedication of Mr. Reecer. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's my first choice. And I'm glad that Mitch Street trusted me enough to believe in that nomination that I gave Mr. Reecer. You know, we are both military men. I spent 7 years in the Army. He's 11 years in the Marine Corps. If I ever had to go in a battle, I definitely want him by my side. I know that I'm going to come home. And that's what you look for in leaders. So I give you Jason Reecer.
Probably not as dynamic of a speaker as Gary is. So I wrote some down. Sometimes if I don't write it down, I'll kind of see something shiny. Or the past 3 years, a lot's gone on, and I'll become emotional a little bit. I actually learned that there is this beautiful thing called emotions, and they're actually good for you. Shockingly, who knew that crying's cool? So I've been learning that. But thank everybody for coming, for everyone here. Now can you hear me? Sorry, I'm terrible at holding the mic. Matter of fact, let's just do that. So thanks everyone for coming here. Congratulations to all the inductees that are here. All of you deserve it. And I didn't really know what to expect when I came, but ever since I've been here today, I see so many faces I know and how many wonderful people that are in this organization. I mean, it is incredible. I know 2/3 of the people in here. It's amazing. And you're still here doing it. And you're bringing all this to these people and these children. So they don't have a better example. You guys are awesome. So thank you for that. Thank you to the committee for choosing, letting me be inducted. Now I want to thank my family. So, my wife, 34 years. She went to high school with me. She was through all this. How amazing is that? And she's still with me. I think everyone says she's an angel. I think she's a little crazy because she's hanging out with me. So that's a debatable issue. My girls, amazing. I love them both. They're both wonderful women. Son-in-law, wonderful young man. Then there's this guy. My dad. He adopted me when I was a freshman. My name was Jason Dunn. I grew up a very, very poor young kid that didn't have nothing in life. Zero. When you want to talk about nothing, I had zero. Nothing to my name. I had nothing. It was me, my mom, my sister. This guy came in and gave me an example of what a man's supposed to be, what a father's supposed to be. And he was a wrestler. So what do you think he impressed on me? Every single day from the time that we met, me and that man wrestled and fought every single day. Whether I wanted to or not, it was just going to happen. I would think that he would come home from work and he's going to be exhausted. Somehow, he mustered up the energy to whoop me for another hour or two just to make sure I knew that something was happening. Through all of that, you know, when you're a young kid, you think it's so terrible that they push you so hard. But then when you become an adult, you understand why. I didn't understand why he would throw logs down the back hill and make me carry them back up and restack it. I didn't know why it'd be freezing cold, all the snow outside. He would make me go down a mile and come back. It all paid off because it taught me how to persevere through all the struggle and all the pain. And whenever I made it through wrestling, wrestling's not an easy sport. Wrestling's terrible. It is terrible. You're hungry. You're always sweaty. You have no clothes because they're all getting washed all the time. You can't eat, so you're mad. You're cutting weight. And then I'm going to school with Donnie, and they're all eating pizzas and everything, and I'm over there chewing on a rubber band, you know? So those things help me in life. And, you know, it all stems from what that man back there gave me. He gave me a gift. It was a gift that I got from him. And I can't thank him enough. It saved my life. Not only in wrestling, but in overseas and some of the things I've done and what I've done in my career now. I've lived a very colorful, exciting life. My wife's not real fond of. I'm an adrenaline junkie and I do things that I probably shouldn't my whole life. But I'm still here, thank God. I want to thank my coaches. There was this guy, Coach Farron. I'm not sure if any of you remember Coach Farron, but he's a Hall of Fame coach, and this guy magically appeared out of nowhere. A little bitty guy would just walk in a wrestling room and just beat the brakes off everybody. And then he would do gymnastics after practice. And he was in his 60s and just wearing us out. Never knew. But he had a huge impact on me. Coach Watson, he never let me get away with anything. He kept me in check. Coach Hilton, you know, what can you say about that guy? But he's a legend. The guy's awesome. Mr. Reed, football coach. Remember Mr. Reed? He helped us be good men, and he was always there whenever he'd see me struggle in wrestling. He'd always give me words of encouragement. Not a lot of people know what happened to the next guy, Mr. Myros. Mr. Myros was our biology teacher. He was a thug. People didn't know. My senior year, everything got to me. I was tired. I'd wrestled for a year and a half straight. I was beaten up. I was exhausted. I was 15-0, and I quit. I walked in the wrestling room, and I told Coach Watson, I'm done. I can't take it no more. And it didn't go well. And I go to school the next day, and somehow Mr. Myros found out. And it was in some kind of break, and I don't know how I ended up in his classroom, but it was me and Mr. Myros in that classroom. He closed the door, put the shade down, and he gave me a man talk. And it didn't go well for me. But he told me the lesson I learned was, if you quit now, quitting becomes easy. And if it becomes easy, it's going to follow you through life. And I treasured that. So I followed the lessons that these men laid in front of me, and it's helped me become successful. Coach Knott, the Noblesville wrestling legend and legend from all over the world. This guy hated me in high school. He was a wrestling coach at Noblesville where Heights. He hated me. Throw stuff at me. And once I came back from the Marine Corps and I got to coach, I coached against Coach Knott and his one of my best friends, Jeremiah, sitting back there. He's another wrestling coach. I got to coach against them, but they became my friends. And then I got the pleasure, once I stepped out for a little while, Coach Knott, I got to coach with a legend. So you think that there's a point in life that you're going to stop learning these lessons that these men teach you. And I'm 40-something years old, in my late 40s, and now I got this guy just imparting life knowledge on me again, not just in a wrestling room, but you know, you get these things, and if you don't pay attention to it, you lose it. You're going to not see it. So, thank you. Then you got Gary. You got this guy. First time we met, thought we were going to go wrestle in a restaurant. You know, and then him and I were in the wrestling room, and we just had a blast. Just an absolute blast. It was fun. But I had so much going on that at some point I had to take a break. I was trying to be a father. I was trying to be great at my job. I was trying to run, you know, and he took the reins and he did amazing. And look what he's still doing. So thank you. And I'm glad you came to the program. Just to wrap everything up is I can't be more humbled to be sitting here and speaking in front of you and to be up on that wall. I would have never thought. You think a little kid that grew up out in the country in a trailer park that had nothing can become successful. you can come through and be successful. But in the meantime, you're going to be humbled a lot. And I've been humbled my whole life. To me, this is a good humble. I can't be more thankful and graceful. I can't give enough grace for what's happened. So thank you. Thank everyone for being here. Again, congratulate to all the other inductees. You're well deserved. I get to see Mr. Shields in the gym. He's still doing it. I mean, daggone. Again, another freaking lesson. They never stop. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jason Reecer. And we're now ready for our next video.
He never lacked self-confidence. As good a runner as he was, what helped him is he just believed he was the best and could beat anybody.
During track, I mean, we would go over to him and say, hey, here's what we need to do. We got to get this point, we got to get this point. He goes, I got it. I got this.
I agree with the whole confidence thing. And the thing about it was, it's not cocky if you can back it up, and he could back it up. And I mean, he wasn't real boastful to other people. I mean, within our little circle, he would talk to us.
The guy was committed. He had a passion. He viewed cross country and track when he was part of it as like, hey, this is important. We value this. And not everyone views cross country as the most important thing, but he's like, hey, I'm doing it, it's important. That type of commitment really elevated his success and the program's success.
Just a great, fun kid to watch run and compete, and he was a great team player as well.
He went to state his junior and senior year in track. His senior year, he got 4th in the 3,200 meter run. His very best time was in that state meet, right? He ran a 9:17, which is an unbelievably good 3,200 meter time for high school. You knew you were watching something special. And then he was also all-state in cross country. He placed 16th down in Bloomington on the hilly golf course down there. So he was all-state in both track and cross country.
Yeah, we always joke around. We always try to come up with our Mount Rushmore of athletes that have gone through the program. And the Mount Rushmore has changed quite a bit lately, but Blaine is definitely on the Mount Rushmore for cross country and track.
All the top distance runners knew Blaine. All the top coaches knew who Blaine was. He knew them. He kept track of what times they ran in different races. He knew how the other people are gonna pace the race and stuff. He goes, this kid's going out fast, I'm gonna hang here. This kid's slow, I'm gonna take it out at him. And I mean, he reminds me kind of like a Prefontaine, man, where I'm just tough and I'm gonna outrun you and you can't do anything about it, you know?
I coached here for almost 20 years, and I've never seen anybody do workouts in track like Blaine did. And we've had some really good runners. But he did the Prefontaine 400s where you run 400s with almost no rest, one after another, and you're running it at race pace. And Blaine, and you know, we'd say, we'd like you to do this many. And Blaine would just keep going and keep going. And he'd do, you know, I remember 14, 15, he'd just keep going. But at race pace, and then the last one, he just blitz it like in 54 or something like that. It was just unbelievable. And we've had some pretty good distance runners since then, and none of them have approached those workouts that Blaine did.
We had a lot of fun at track meets, but when it came time and it was time to cheer on your teammates, Blaine was all about making sure everybody was there cheering for everybody.
And he'd do anything for the team.
Yeah.
We ran him in the 4x4 relay after the 3,200 almost every meet. And he wanted the team to win. Blaine, congratulations. A well-deserved honor being in the Hamilton Heights Athletic Hall of Fame. And I guess personally, I'd just say thanks for your loyalty and commitment. that always meant the most to me was that you were completely loyal and committed, and along with your talent and desire to do well. Just so proud of you.
Blaine, congratulations. Again, it is well deserved, and I've appreciated sharing a little part of it throughout your career. And I've really appreciated your enthusiasm all the way back when I had you in 7th grade and how excited you were. I've really enjoyed you coming back and watching other kids run, including your sisters, and it's been very enjoyable.
Congratulations, Blaine. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great memories. You're very deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. You've always been in my Hall of Fame, but now at least you get to be in the school's Hall of Fame too.
Blaine, congratulations. You always made track more enjoyable. Being up here with these 4 guys and coaching kids like you, you made it special. And now you know for a fact that you are on the Mount Rushmore of Hamilton Heights boys track, and you are now the first inductee into the Hall of Fame from the boys cross country and boys track program. Congratulations.
Introduce to you Mr. Bill Trackman.
That's fun going down memory lane, and I think it is for everyone here today, remembering these great athletes. When I was thinking about introducing Blaine, you always start off as a track or cross country coach thinking about numbers. What were their times? And it's strange. I remember all these times. It's insane. I don't know why it means so much, but it just clicks off. He ran a 15:50 5K, 15 minutes, 50 seconds at semi-state at Southeast Way Park to qualify for state, and that's still our school record. In track, in the 3200, he ran a 9:17 and got 4th in the state meet. And I remember that night like yesterday. He actually, the year before, his junior year, he went to state, and he was such a smart athlete. We talked, I thought he went out a little hard his junior year. Senior year, I think we were all talking about, you just run 70-second laps and see what's left in you. And I think he ran 7 70-second laps, and his last lap was a 67 for a 9:17 in a great field of runners. I can still see all the coaches and his family members on the bleachers in that evening in Bloomington going crazy. He was a member of our 4x8 relay team that still has a record of 8:11. So those are individual records. Team, well, and by the way, he was all state in cross country, all state in track. When you get to team, he led us to numerous conference championships. He led us to a track conference champion, I think 2 cross-country conference champions. He won so many races, I can't keep track. Beyond that, he led the boys cross-country to 3 semi-states, 3 semi-state appearances. And that's tough coming out of the Carmel sectional. It's not easy. But Blaine, if you wanted to go down to war at Carmel, you needed a guy like Blaine there. You just did. He led us to numerous conference championships, as I said, in track and cross country. When I look back at our teams, what was so great is the quality of kids we had along with Blaine. But really, it was kind of Blaine's deep down will to compete that led us to so many team accomplishments. But, you know, once you get by the team accomplishments and the individual accomplishments, I was sitting there thinking, that's just doesn't fill in the story about Blaine. Blaine was bigger than life. He was bigger than life. He, you know, so often in cross country and track, and I love all sports, and Blaine loves all sports. I think he was his first love might have been basketball in junior high. But when Blaine started doing something, you know what? It mattered. You know, he put us on the map in many ways because it mattered to him. And if it mattered to him, it better matter to his teammates, and it better matter to his coaches. You better work at it. He kept you on your toes. And so when I think of Blaine, I think the thing that comes out the most to me was that he cared. He just cared passionately. He figured, if I'm going to be involved in cross country and track, let's do it. I get a little choked up thinking about that, because as a coach, that's all you really want is, do you care? Do you care? And he cared more than almost anyone I could ever imagine. Well, and someday you realize a lot of things kind of must go through genetically through a family, but he cared. I remember a little story when Blaine, I think we were at sectionals. It was either county or sectionals. I think it was sectionals. And there was a kid from Carmel named Joel Shaw. He was a top 7 or 8 3,200-meter kid in the state. And I think it was Coach Jones and Hippensteel were standing by me, and he comes up to us and says, just watch me on the 6th lap. That's where I'm going to surge and get it. And you're like, okay, he's pretty good. You know, you're both excellent, and sure enough, 6th lap, he just toasted him and won. I think it was winning sectionals, actually. He cared. He competed. He was not afraid to compete. He dug deep, and if you look at those pictures, that was Blaine. He was passionate. He cared about the sports he was in. He really was the Pied Piper of cross country and track, distance running, when he was in high school. Every coach knows. I mean, there's a Hall of Fame coach, Chuck Keppen, down at Carmel, and to this day, he'll come up to me and say, how's Blaine doing? Everyone knew him. There was and he was a funny, full of life person. And his senior year, the internet was just getting going on running stuff, and there was an Indiana runner, and he somehow ended up being he was riding our daily workouts for kids around the state to see. And I said, he asked me, and I said, that's fine, go ahead. Now, I do remember I kind of kept an eye on things, and I remember going to some computer, taking about 30 seconds to get on, and you know, he said, oh, this day we did 400s. This days we did a threshold run or an LD, long distance run. And then I'm reading one of it, and this day we did a long distance run, and we did an initiation for the freshmen. They jumped someone's fence, and we made them go into a fountain. And I remember running down, Blaine, you don't have to tell them everything that we did in the workout. Looking back, I'll never forget that day. So he was passionate. And I think he was just unbelievably loyal. He cared. He wanted to do well for Blaine Zimmerman, but he also wanted our teams to do well. If you told him to run 4 events, 1 meet to win the conference, he was going to do everything he could to win the conference. He often ran the 4x4 relay right after the 3,200, and he never complained. What do we need to do to win? And finally, about Blaine, it was just his personality. Besides being the best boy distance runner I've had the privilege of coaching, he was probably the most memorable because of his personality. He was fun. He was alive. He lived it, and you don't forget that as a coach. So in conclusion, when I think of Blaine Zimmerman, I think, he did it for himself. He did it for his team. He cared passionately. He did it for Hamilton Heights. He did it for his coaches. He did it for his wonderful family. He did it for a lot of reasons. But what I remember the most is, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the best I can be at it. And that is what I think of Blaine. So Blaine, when I look out at Blaine, and I don't want to forget anyone, but Michelle and Matt and his sisters, I just can't imagine anyone more deserving than you, Blaine, to getting in the Hall of Fame. It was an honor to coach you.
Thanks, Coach. It was Jordan Kyle, not Joel Shaw, and it was at sectionals. And I think that what I said was probably more brash than that. I've calmed down a little bit over the time. So thanks, Coach Stragman. I really appreciate it. Dr. Arrowwood, Mitch, members of the Hall of Fame committee, thank you for giving me this honor. It's truly an honor to be standing in front of everybody today, and congratulations to all the others that are joining the Hall of Fame. This is a really cool event, seeing the high school. It's considerably different than when I was in school, and so I can only imagine how much different it is from some of the other members. I want to thank a lot of the folks that showed up for me today. My wife, Jenny, my sons, Wes, Ben, and Otis, my mom, Michelle, my dad, Matt Mitchell, my sisters, Molly, Mary Catherine, and our soon-to-be Hamilton Heights Hall of Famer, Maria. There was a reason that Coach said best boy runner he's ever coached, because the best runner he's ever coached is my younger sister. Oma and Opa, thanks for coming. Ryan, L, appreciate it. Randy, my college team at Indiana State, and his wife, Kimmy. We've lived a lot of life together. And I appreciate you being here. Justin Roeder and his wife, Amanda. So Justin was teammates with my biggest rival at Hamilton Southeastern. I had friends all over the state, as Coach said, but we stayed friends throughout the rest of our lives, and I think that that's really important. It's one of the things that running does to bring people together. There's a lot of people that had a hand in me standing in front of you today, and a lot of them are here, and I want to take a moment to make sure I'm thanking them. So all of my coaches that you saw on the video, Coach Jones, Coach Hippensteel, Coach Reeves, who had a fantastic article in the Indy Star a couple weeks ago. There was a story in there about another kid that he drove to school, and I was like, oh, he used to drive me to school too. So that was really exciting. Mrs. McKinney, thanks for putting up with me. I probably gave you more heartache than anything, but I really appreciate it. And anybody that I forgot, I promise I'm not mad at you. I tried to remember everybody all at once. So we moved to Cicero in 1995 when my mom got married to my dad, Matt Mitchell. My mom's 100% the person behind who I am today. I'm now a cross-country dad and can't imagine what running around the course with a 5- and 3-year-old while also lugging around a car seat with a newborn must have been like. Her resiliency, tenacity, and unwavering commitment to her family, without her resiliency, tenacity, and unwavering commitment to her family, there's no way I would have been able to persevere many of the challenges I've faced in life. There's also 3 men that I really want to give a lot of credit to for the reason that I am who I am today. Without them, I don't think that I would have been able to reach my full potential as a runner, a student, or a man. And I can't look at any of you while I talk about this. So the first is my great-grandfather, Gene Fox. Grandpa was a man that stepped up to marry his next-door neighbor after she lost her husband while raising 3 young boys. He not only raised those 3, but he had a large hand in raising my mother and her brother, and then me. That just scratches the surface of the type of character that Gene Fox had. If there's a picture next to the word character in the dictionary, it's a headshot of Gene Fox. He taught me that character is what you do when no one's watching. No one had more character than he did, and that's still the value system that I live by today. My dad, Matt Mitchell, also lives his life the Gene Fox way. He lives with a quiet confidence, a sharp wit, and an amazing sense of humor. He played basketball at Marian College, not university, because he's old, which became extremely helpful as I progressed to have someone that had been in my shoes in a way to help me navigate success and especially recruiting. My junior year, I made the state track championship meet by 100th of a second. That's .01. It was incredibly close. And I went into the state championship ranked 9th. I did not run well, as Coach alluded to, and I placed 21st, and I was absolutely devastated. I remember sitting on the bleachers of Michael Carroll Stadium downtown, and Dad came up to me and put his arm around me, and he said, "I know this feels bad, but remember how this feels when you don't want to get out of bed to work out some morning, because those are the workouts that keep you from feeling like this again." I don't think that I missed a workout the rest of my entire high school career. I think I finished my career on like a 106-day straight running streak. But the following year, I placed 4th in the same event. And so thank you so much. And that advice still rings true. You know, if you don't feel like doing something, remember what it's going to feel like on the back end when you don't do it. Final person I want to thank is the man that introduced me, Bill Trackman. So many of your messages still resonate with me to this day. Never get too high, never get too low. Be like a duck, calm on top, but paddle like hell underwater. Carpe diem. He also was a very distinguished bus rapper. He used to sing raps in the back of the bus just to, we were all laughing with him, not at him, I promise. I wouldn't trade the Bill Trackman experience for the world. I think the most important thing to know about Coach is that he gets it. Hamilton Heights isn't producing state champions and Division I athletes every single year. We're producing great human beings with building blocks for success later in life. Honestly, I think the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that we were able to take 3 semi-state qualifying teams from little old Hamilton Heights. I mean, we didn't have talent. We had a coach that cared, and we had people that bought in. And I think that it was every bit as hard to make semi-state 3 years in a row out of the, having to go up against the likes of Carmel and all of those people that look down on us. I think that that's every bit as hard as making a state championship in a class sport. The thing about Coach Trackman is he gets it. He wants to create lifelong runners. He doesn't necessarily care what your time was or about success in high school. He wants you to be instilled with the confidence to go outside of these doors and succeed later in life. 2 of the teammates I ran with are still currently ultramarathoners, like 50, 100-mile races, partially because they're crazy, but mostly because Coach Trackman instilled a lifelong love of running in them. This is a great community to grow up in, although I could do without the golf carts. And I love seeing Hamilton Heights grads succeed post-high school. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee again for this amazing honor, and I'm humbled to be recognized for making an impact at the best high school in Hamilton County. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Blaine Zimmerman.
She had a confidence about her. She had a quiet confidence. And when she was at practice, she would have fun and giggle. But when it came time to get on those blocks at meets,
it was time to race. She was ready to race.
She was ready to go. She knew what she had to do. She would always be the anchor on our relays. And we would be sitting over there on the sidelines. You know, we're down 5 or 6 meters.
And we knew that we had a chance.
We just knew that we had a chance because Cheyanne was getting on the blocks ready to go. And she would chase people down.
She was such a good teammate.
Yes.
She made those kids are still family. But she was a good teammate, and her personality, you can't beat that. You want that with every athlete, whether they're stellar in the sport or not.
I remember when she was coming up through the program, you know, she was by far one of our best girl swimmers, female swimmers.
Ever.
And
Ever.
to push her, we had to have her swim with the boys. And she reacted great to that. And I think the boys fed off of her competitiveness.
Yeah, they didn't want her ahead of them in the lane.
Oh yeah. She was cheering for those kids.
She was still a teammate.
She was a teammate no matter what. She may have come right out of the pool, had a bad race, and she would go right down to the end of lane 6 and be cheering on her teammate.
Yep.
She was a leader in the pool, out of the pool. She was a fierce competitor.
She did it in the water. She said, beat my time. Come beat me.
Yeah.
That's how you beat me. You don't beat me with mind games.
Yeah.
She was ready to race.
I stopped by the pool to look at the record board to see her name's still up there after 13 years. And the 2 relays that she's a part of, those records, we talked about at the time that it was going to be hard to beat. She, by far, our most decorated swimmer in Heights history. She is the only swimmer in school history to swim in 4 events at the state meet.
Right.
She was a part of 2 relays, and she swam the 200 freestyle, and she swam the 500 freestyle her junior year.
She was a Hall of Fame attitude, Hall of Fame success, but it's the whole package. It wasn't just here in 2008 when she did this, this, and this. It was just how she got there and where she went from there. We got to watch her grow up.
Yes.
We got to watch her become a Hall of Fame athlete.
Yes.
Really. Just a Hall of Fame person. Hey, Shy, Coach here. Hey, just love you, kid. Really, really happy for you. You deserve this. Gives me shivers to goosebumps to just say it. We love you. We have great memories of this. Your mom as an assistant coach, your little sister as your biggest supporter. So, congrats.
Cheyanne, I just want to congratulate you. It is a great honor, and I'm very proud to have been your coach during your 4 years at Hamilton Heights. And like I said, it's a great honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame and to be the first swimmer inducted to the Hamilton Heights Hall of Fame. It's a pleasure. You know, Steve and Lindsay and I, we enjoyed watching you grow up all the way through middle school, age group swimming, high school, following your college career. And again, it was a pleasure to be able to coach you and be part of your life.
Introduce to you, Lindsay Lawson.
Hello. Reecer, same way. So congratulations. I'm looking out here, I even see some of my swimmers. So I'm Lindsay Lawson. I'm a Hamilton Heights alumni, and I too swam 4 years as a swimmer here at Hamilton Heights and went on to swim collegiately at Ball State. And when I was 23 years old, Todd Jones, coach, called me and said, hey, the current boys swim coach has resigned. There's an open position. Do you want to coach with me? And I said, sure, let's do it. And I'd only coached younger athletes. And when I said yes to Jones, I didn't know what I was saying yes to. And it was probably 4 weeks later, IHSAA decided to make some changes in high school swimming. And at that time, it was announced and released that the sectional layout throughout the state was totally rearranged. And our school, Hamilton Heights School, was put in the sectional with Carmel. And those of you that don't know anything about swimming, Carmel this year is going for their 35th year in a row state championship and national championship for swimming. And so for swimming, that was a huge change for our school, because how swimming is laid out is in sectionals, you have to win your event to advance directly to the state meet. Or you have to get a time. And that time you have to get is what last year's 16th place was at the state championship. So here I am, a fresh coach, and Jones and I had discussed that we weren't going to run the programs boys in these lanes, girls in these lanes, but we were going to run the programs together. And we were going to have the athletes learn from each other, train with each other, and that was our game plan. And so I remember I had to tell Cheyanne this change. And I hadn't coached her very long. We were doing preseason training for high school and club swimming. She was starting to get to know me. I was starting to get to know her. Already as an athlete, she thought the coach that she was going to have in high school decided to go coach for another school. And I remember I called her up to the bleachers in the pool, in the corner, and I said, sit down, I gotta talk to you. And I sat her down and I told her about the change. And she started crying. And I said, what are you thinking? And she said, I'm really mad. This is not fair. And I just sat and I listened, and she's talking and she's talking and she's talking. By the way, I had no idea what I was going to tell her. I just knew I just needed to talk to her. She was a freshman, and high school season was about ready to start. So I just listened and I listened, and as I was listening to her, this is before Christ came into my life. But I believe that the Holy Spirit was talking to me, and he told me what my job was going to be as a coach. And in that moment, I believe the Lord told me that my job was going to have to believe in her more than she was going to believe in herself. And that's what my job was going to be as a coach. And so I was listening to her, and I was listening to her, and I said, okay, are you done? Are you done? She said, yeah. I said, how are you going to get to state? Because that was her goal. I knew that's what her goal was. She wanted to come in as a freshman and break all possibility of a freshman making it to the state championships. I said, how are you going to get to state? She's like, I can't beat Carmel because their first, second, and third swimmers, they all even get the top times to qualify. Plus, they always win the events. So there's no way I'm going to make. I said, okay, so you're not going to get first place. What else are you going to do to get to state? And she said, well, I could go for the time. And I was like, that's what we're going to focus on. That's who your competition is. That's you against the time, and we focused on the time from day one. And we had a great first season as a freshman. No, she did not make the time. She was super, super close on making the time. But I believe all great athletes have to lose to become great because they remember what it's like to lose. And I had not only the pleasure of coaching her in high school, but through club swimming, and club swimming is year-round, and when I say year-round, it's year-round, so I got to see her face-to-face, her face in the water, 48 weeks of 52 of the year. And so I got to train her year-round and in high school, and sophomore year came around, and we knew our competition was time again. And that's what we focused on. And she made the time, and she advanced to state as a sophomore. And kept doing well. And what was really, really awesome was I knew that not only did I have to believe in her more than she believed in herself, but that was going to be a daily thing. In the morning, when the school was quiet and the swim team was in the pool, after school, all the things. And that's what I always focused on. And there were times where I doubted myself as a coach because she was a way better athlete than I ever was, and she swam events that I didn't swim, actually swam opposite events. But I made a promise to myself and to her in the program that I would be the best coach that I could be. And I had to humble myself. And I remember I walked over to the Carmel coach, and I said, listen, I got some questions. Because I have some goals for this athlete, and she has some goals for herself. Can I talk with you? And he said, yeah. So we sat down. I had conversations. She doesn't even know this. I sat down. We had conversations. I told him what we were doing. He said, hey, try this, try this, try this. Next year, junior year, I had the same conversation with him. And he knew who she was. And he was behind the scenes rooting for you as well, even though you're on a different team. And he said, I want you, Lindsay, to focus on her second 100 for a specific event. For the 500 free, focus on the second 100. He said, she's going to win the 500 if she wins the second 100 of the race. So she didn't know that, but that's what I changed our training focus that year to, and she made huge improvements, and she did amazing in that event. And so, and also behind the scenes, I remember I got so super nervous before my athletes, but I had to hide it, right? Because I have to like believe in her more than she believes in herself. But I would get super nervous, and so Jones would be like over in the coaches meeting giving me CPR, or Coach Haferly would be encouraging me behind the scenes so that I could be the strong one, the encouraging one, are you finished yet? Let's go. Like I had to be the tough one of the coaching staff. Thanks, guys, because that's what they needed us to do. That's what the program needed for me to be, and so that's who I am and that's who I was. But it was so fun coaching her. There are days where I'm sure she left not wanting to look at me the next day, but she showed up the next day, and she trusted me, and I trusted her, and it was an honor to coach you. And it was a joy of my life to coach you, and I'm so proud of you. And what she also doesn't know is the current program here at Hamilton Heights, the current swimming program, there's even a senior this year on the swim team who I'm close with, who babysits my own children, and I followed her journey, and I coached her in middle school as well. And the kids that are in the program now know the name Cheyanne. They know the name Cheyanne Jackson. They know the stories on how the Hamilton Heights kid went to state over and over for multiple events over and over again. And it's encouraged multiple generations that are to come of what you did. Because we're still in the Carmel sectional, and Carmel's still the Goliath of swimming, and I respect their program and I respect their coaches, and in humbling myself to be able to ask questions to better myself, to better you, you trusted the program. So, congratulations.
I am more coordinated in the water than I am on land in heels speaking, so bear with me. I am incredibly honored and would like to thank the athletic department and the administration. Can you all hear me? I want to congratulate the other athletes today. It's such an honor even to be standing up here with you. We are all here for our hard work and our commitment to our sport, but I want to thank all the family members, coaches, friends, teammates who are there with their support at every practice and at every meet. Every athlete that is being acknowledged today was able to have that dedication because of the sacrifice and support they had from all of you, their community. I'd like to thank my parents. During my 14 years of swimming, whether it was driving me to practice before school, providing me with the resources I needed, or sitting in a hot natatorium for more hours than we could ever add up, thank you for your never-ending love and support for me. I was blessed to have been a part of such a special team and have coaches like Lindsay Lawson and Todd Jones. A core memory of mine was gasping for air in the 500 at state to see Coach Jones and Lindsay hands up high, jumping higher than I ever thought they were capable of. It's something I'll never forget. I sincerely hope coaching retirement is treating you both well. You were wonderful coaches to me. Thank you for always believing in me and pushing me beyond my limits. I now have 2 kids of my own. We live in Tampa Bay, Florida, and as we are approaching school age, I am constantly comparing schools to my time at Heights. I had such an incredible time here in Cicero and want the same for my kids. Maybe one day we'll come back. So baseball coaches, remember the name Brewer, because I have a 2-year-old with a pretty sweet left-handed swing back there who's talking. I am honored and just sincerely thank you, and congratulate all the other athletes here today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cheyanne Jackson Brewer. I'm going to turn the mic over to Mitch for a minute. He's got a few things he needs to announce.
Yeah, just real quick. First, Lindsay kind of took what I was going to say there at the end, which is awesome. But, you know, when we created the Hall of Fame, it was to really recognize our history, but also was to encourage the future, too. And Lori Hippensteel was telling me about, I think it's probably Tegan, I don't know if it's the same gal, I assume it probably is, but how she wanted Lori to introduce her to Cheyanne so that she could get her picture and stuff like that. I know you think about the former players for Coach Reecer, and the family with Zip Blaine. You can go on and on and on just about the legacy of those athletes and what you guys represent. So congratulations again. I asked that when Greg finishes up his piece, the Hall of Fame displays are back here. So if we could kind of make our way back there, I'd like to get pictures of the individual athletes and then also with their families. So we'll try to move through that as quick as possible. And then you're welcome to hang out as long as you want to. But yeah, congratulations again. And I'm going to turn to Greg just to conclude. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Mitch. It's kind of neat. I've got to thank the committee. When this all got put together, it's something that's been in the works for quite a while. It's, I guess I didn't realize I was sitting there today. I've had the privilege and the honor to stand here for 4 years now and not only watch great coaches that have coached these athletes, but the families and the Hamilton Heights community. As you listen to some of them speak, they always make the comment about Hamilton Heights and the community we have and the high school we have, the respect we have, and all the things that goes along with doing something like this and presenting it. But to also stand here with these great athletes over the past 4 years, it brings back a lot of memories. Now, some of them, I was real little when I got to watch them play, but they were my idols. And then to have the privilege of sitting or announcing some of these other athletes' events, once again, congratulations. Your 5 nominees this year that have been inducted into the Hamilton Heights Hall of Fame, Mr. Dan Shields, Mr. Don Morgan, Mr. Jason Reecer, Mr. Blaine Zimmerman, Cheyanne Jackson Brewer. You are all so deserving of this great honor. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for them and let's show our appreciation. It's an awesome thing. We're so glad you're here. A big thank you to the families for coming back. It's great to see a lot of different people. It's really cool. We want to thank Barrycom once again as our exclusive sponsor. If you feel the desire that you would like to be involved in this, please reach out to Mitch. Donations or whatever it might be that you would like to be involved with it, it'd be awesome. Once again, thank you all. As Mitch said, we'll try to get some pictures. Please, wherever you're traveling this afternoon or tomorrow to get back home, be safe. Safe travels to all of you. We do appreciate you being here. We thank you. Have a great afternoon.